What if I told you an ancient book written over 100 years ago explains why your reality feels shifting? Not metaphorically, literally. Why identity feels fluid. Why timelines feel like they're accelerating. Why what used to work doesn't anymore. The Kabbalion isn't old wisdom, it's a map. And most people are using it backwards. Stay with me, because once you see this, you won't be able to unsee it. Welcome to Vortex Tribe, where we journey into the heart of consciousness, energy, and universal truths. The Kabbalion was published in 1908 by 3 anonymous authors who called themselves the Three Initiates. They claimed they weren't creating new ideas, they were preserving ancient ones. Wisdom traced back to a figure known as Hermes Trismegistus, a name that blends the Egyptian god Thoth and the Greek god Hermes. Messenger of the gods, keeper of hidden knowledge, symbol of the bridge between worlds. For centuries, Hermetic teachings moved quietly, influencing alchemists, mystics, scientists, philosophers, not loudly, not publicly, but deeply. The Kabbalion distilled those teachings into 7 core principles, 7 mental laws, 7 patterns that govern consciousness, matter, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, not beliefs, patterns. And once you see them, you start noticing them everywhere in psychology, physics, relationships, money, identity, in the way reality responds to perception. The question isn't whether these laws are working. The question is, are you aware of how they're shaping your life? Principle 1. Mentalism. The first Hermetic principle is simple. The all is mind. Everything you see, everything you touch, everything you experience is mental in nature, not imaginary, not fake, but shaped by consciousness. Before a building exists, it exists as a thought. Before a movement changes the world, it begins as an idea. Before your life shifts, it shifts internally. Mentalism doesn't say reality isn't real, it says reality is formed from perception, formed from belief, formed from meaning. 2 people can stand in the same room and live in completely different realities because they interpret it differently, because they think differently, because they assign different meaning. Your mind is not reacting to the world. It is participating in shaping it. The lens becomes the landscape. And once you understand that, you stop waiting for conditions to give you permission to change. You realize your inner state is not small, it is causal, it is creative. It is the starting point of everything. And that is why this principle matters more than ever right now. Because in a world of algorithms, AI, identity shifts, and information overload, the one thing still shaping your experience is the quality of your mind. The all is mind, and you are thinking inside it. Principle 2. Correspondence. The second principle says, as above, so below, as within, so without. This is not a metaphor, it is architecture. The spiral of a galaxy and the spiral of your DNA follow the same geometry. The branching of lightning mirrors the branching of your nervous system. The ocean tides mirror the rhythm in your body. Nothing stands alone. Everything echoes. What exists on the grand scale exists on the intimate scale. What exists inside you cannot help but express itself outside you. Your inner world is not private, it is predictive. The way you see yourself sets the ceiling for what you allow. The way you speak to yourself sets the tone for how others speak to you. The way you carry your belief sets the boundaries of opportunity. Your outer life is a reflection, not of your wishes, but of your internal structure. Change the structure, and the reflection must change. This is easier to see than ever. And here's where this becomes powerful in today's world. We live in an era where everything mirrors us back. Algorithms reflect your interests. Content reflects your focus. Communities reflect your identity. Technology has made correspondence visible. The outside world is echoing what you are feeding it. So if you want to understand your reality, look at your inner patterns, not to judge, to adjust. Because once you change the within, the without must follow its law. Principle 3. Vibration. The third Hermetic principle says nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Stillness is an illusion. Even the chair beneath you is moving at the atomic level. Even the air around you is in motion. Even your thoughts carry charge. Science now confirms what Hermetic wisdom declared centuries ago. At its core, everything is energy in motion. Matter is condensed vibration. Emotion is vibration. Attention is vibration. Your state is not neutral. It broadcasts. Walk into a room and feel it. Before anyone speaks, before anyone moves, you can sense the tone. That is vibration. Your baseline emotional state becomes your signature frequency. Gratitude feels different than resentment. Confidence feels different than doubt. Peace feels different than urgency. And each state attracts different responses, different opportunities, different interactions, not mystically, naturally. When you shift your vibration, you shift what you are available for. Raise your internal standard and certain environments feel foreign. Lower your standard and different ones feel familiar. You do not attract randomly, you resonate. This year, this principle is amplified. Your emotional tone influences your output. Your output influences your network. Your network influences your opportunities. It compounds. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. You are not separate from that movement. You are participating in it. The question is not whether you are vibrating. The question is, at what level and in what direction, because vibration is not about hype, it is about alignment. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions move in coherence, momentum builds and life responds. Nothing rests, everything moves, including you. Principle 4. Polarity. The fourth Hermetic principle says, everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Hot and cold, light and dark, confidence and doubt, wealth and lack, love and fear. Opposites are not separate. They are extremes of the same thing. Heat and cold are not different substances. They are different degrees of temperature. Darkness is not a force. It is simply the absence of light. Polarity reveals something profound. The difference between where you are and where you want to be is not a wall, it is a scale, and scales can move. The distance between insecurity and confidence is not a different identity, it is a shift in degree. The distance between scarcity and abundance is not a different universe, it is perception adjusted. This is why transformation is possible, because you are not trying to create something new, you are transmuting. The Hermetic teachers called it mental alchemy, the ability to shift along the scale, to move from fear toward courage, from resentment toward understanding, from chaos toward clarity. Not by denying one side, but by understanding it belongs on the same line. Today, this principle matters more than ever because the world appears polarized, extreme opinions, extreme reactions, extreme narratives. But polarity is not the problem. Attachment to one extreme is. When you understand that both poles belong to the same spectrum, you regain power. You stop fighting darkness and start increasing light. You stop resisting fear and start cultivating courage. You stop chasing abundance and start raising your internal standard. Everything is dual, and you are free to choose the degree. That is alchemy. That is power. Principle 5. Rhythm. The fifth Hermetic principle says, everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. Life moves in cycles. The ocean does not apologize for its waves. The seasons do not question their return. Breath moves in and out. The heart expands and contracts. Day turns to night. Night turns to day. Nothing remains at one peak. Nothing remains at one low. Rhythm is not instability, it is intelligence in motion. Every success carries a pause. Every pause carries a preparation. Every expansion is followed by integration. When you understand rhythm, you stop mistaking temporary lows for permanent states. You recognize movement. You recognize process. You recognize that what feels like a downturn is often the gathering of force. The pendulum swings. That is its nature. But the Hermetic Masters taught something deeper. You do not have to be carried unconsciously by the swing. Awareness creates steadiness. The more centered you are internally, the less violently you are moved by external cycles. You still experience rhythm, but you are not thrown by it. In growth, there are surges. In love, there are seasons. In creativity, there are waves. In life, there are phases. The key is not to resist the rhythm, it is to align with it. To understand that contraction prepares expansion. That quiet precedes momentum. That rest strengthens movement. Nothing is stuck, nothing is static, everything flows. And when you stop fighting the tide, you begin to move with it. That is peace. That is power. And that is rhythm. Principle 6. Cause and effect. The sixth Hermetic principle says, every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Nothing happens by chance. What you call luck is law you do not yet see. What you call coincidence is pattern unfolding. Every thought plants, every word directs, every action initiates motion. Nothing floats in isolation. A single belief repeated daily becomes a personality. A personality repeated consistently becomes a life. Cause and effect is not punishment, it is precision. It means your effort matters, your intention matters, your consistency matters. It also means you are not a victim of randomness. If something appears in your life, there is a chain behind it, sometimes visible, sometimes subtle, sometimes reaching far back into old habits, old decisions, old assumptions. And here is the power in this principle. If effects are appearing, causes can be adjusted. If patterns are repeating, inputs can be refined. You are not stuck inside outcomes. You are standing at the source. The quality of your thoughts, the tone of your emotions, the standards of your actions. These are causes, and causes compound. This is why discipline builds freedom, why consistency builds mastery, why integrity builds trust. Because cause always produces effect. Always. Nothing is wasted. Nothing disappears into nothing. Everything generates something. Once you understand this, you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you begin asking, what am I generating? That shift alone changes your trajectory. Cause and effect is not harsh. It is empowering because it places the pen back in your hand. Principle 7. Gender. The seventh Hermetic principle says, gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. This is not about male and female bodies. It is about forces. Every act of creation requires two energies, one that directs, one that receives, one that initiates, one that nurtures, one that penetrates with focus, one that gestates with patience. The masculine principle is structure, clarity, decision, movement. The feminine principle is imagination, intuition, depth, formation. The masculine plants the seed, the feminine grows it. The masculine chooses the direction, the feminine develops the vision. Without structure, vision dissolves. Without vision, structure becomes rigid. When these forces are balanced within you, creation accelerates. An idea forms, feminine. You act on it, masculine. Momentum builds, masculine. It integrates and refines, feminine. Everything in nature follows this. Thought and action, input and output, expansion and containment. If your life feels stuck, often one principle is dominating: too much force without reflection, or too much dreaming without movement. Harmony brings process, balance brings power. You carry both energies. You are not required to choose one. You are required to integrate them. Because creation is not one-sided, it is union. And when clarity and intuition work together, your decisions become cleaner. Your timing becomes sharper. Your execution becomes stronger. That is why gender is the final principle, because it completes the system. Mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and finally, creative balance, gender. When these 7 operate in awareness, you stop drifting. You begin designing. These laws, they're not outside of you. They are moving through you. Every thought, every emotion, every decision, every action. You are not separate from the system. You are participating in it. The moment you become aware of the laws, you stop living by accident and you start living by design. So the real question is, now that you see the pattern, what will you create? Subscribe for more educational content that helps to raise our collective consciousness. Until next time.